The world around us is full of noise, voices competing for attention, thoughts clamoring for validation, and a constant hum of activity that seems to never cease. Yet in all this noise, the most profound truths often emerge in silence. Silence is not merely the absence of sound, it is a presence, a space where understanding can flourish and wisdom can take root. In silence, we find the echo of our truest selves, unburdened by the need to explain, justify, or impress. To control the mouth is to embrace the power of restraint, a power often misunderstood in our age of immediate expression. We live in a time when speaking has become synonymous with being. Social platforms encourage us to broadcast our every thought, as if the act of silence diminishes our existence. But what if the opposite is true? What if silence is not emptiness, but a deeper form of fullness, a way to listen not only to others, but also to the whisperings of life itself? When we resist the urge to speak, we open the door to something greater, the ability to truly listen. Listening is not a passive act, it is an active engagement with the world. To listen well is to give others the gift of your presence, undistracted and sincere. It is in these moments of quiet attentiveness that the most meaningful connections are forged. Words often fail to capture the essence of what is felt, but silence has a way of bridging gaps that language cannot cross. Silence also serves as a mirror. When we stop filling the air with words, we are left to face the noise within ourselves. This can be uncomfortable. The mind, unaccustomed to stillness, often rebels, filling the void with endless chatter. But if we can sit with that discomfort, we begin to notice something extraordinary. The mind starts to settle, like a pond no longer disturbed by ripples. In that stillness, clarity emerges. We start to hear not just the external world, but the subtler truths within. There is a certain humility in silence, a recognition that not everything requires our input or opinion. In conversation, silence is often mistaken for weakness or ignorance, but it is, in fact, the opposite. To remain silent in the face of provocation, or to hold your tongue when you could speak, requires strength and wisdom. Silence in these moments is not avoidance, it is mastery. It is the recognition that our words carry weight and should not be used carelessly. The echo of silence is also the birthplace of creativity. It is in the quiet spaces of the mind that inspiration often strikes. Great ideas rarely emerge amidst chaos, they grow in the fertile soil of stillness. Writers, artists, and thinkers throughout history have spoken of the power of solitude, a space where the mind is free to wander and connect ideas in ways that noise would never allow. Silence, however, does not mean detachment from the world. It is not about retreating into isolation or avoiding life's challenges. Rather, it is a practice of intentional presence. It is about choosing when to speak and when to remain quiet, when to act and when to wait. In this balance we find not only peace but also power, the power to engage with life on our own terms, rather than reacting impulsively to every stimulus. In silence we come to understand that our voice is not diminished by its absence. On the contrary, when we speak less, our words carry more weight. They become intentional, imbued with thought and meaning. So silence is not the enemy of expression, it is its most profound ally. And so let us embrace the echo of silence. Let us learn to control the urge to speak when it is not needed, and to listen with the fullness of our being. In doing so, we discover a truth that has been with us all along, that silence is not empty. It is alive, resonant, and deeply transformative. The mind is like a river, always flowing, carrying thoughts, emotions, memories, and dreams along its current. It never stops, never rests, always surging forward. This restless nature is both its beauty, and its challenge. Like a river, the mind can be a source of life and vitality, but when left unchecked, it can also become turbulent, overwhelming, and even destructive. We are often caught in the river's current, swept away by our thoughts as they swirl and tumble without pause. A single idea can spark a cascade, turning a quiet moment into a storm of worry, doubt, or fear. The mind's ability to imagine, to project into the future, or dwell on the past is what makes us human. But it is also what traps us, chaining us to experiences that no longer exist or outcomes that may never come to pass. The key to navigating this restless river is not to fight against the current, but to learn to observe it. When we try to resist our thoughts or force the mind to be still, we often find that it becomes even more unruly. like a river dam that bursts forth with greater intensity. Instead, we must become the observer, standing on the riverbank and watching the flow without being pulled in. To observe the mind is to recognize that thoughts are just thoughts, fleeting, impermanent, and not inherently true. They rise and fall like waves on the surface of the water. Some are gentle ripples, barely noticeable, while others are powerful surges that threaten to sweep us away. But even the strongest wave eventually subsides, returning to the greater flow. This realization is liberating. It reminds us that we are not our thoughts, we are the awareness behind them, the silent witness to their movement. Stillness is not the absence of thought, but the ability to let thoughts pass without clinging to them. It is the space between the waves, the quiet depth of the river beneath its restless surface. This stillness is always there, even when the mind seems most chaotic. Finding it requires patience and practice, but the rewards are profound. In stillness we find clarity. We begin to see things as they are, rather than through the distorted lens of our constant mental chatter. The restless nature of the mind is not something to be conquered or eliminated. It is part of what makes us creative, curious, and alive. The river of the mind carries inspiration, insight, and the capacity for deep connection. But just as a river needs boundaries to flow gracefully, the mind needs guidance. This guidance comes through mindfulness, through the practice of bringing our attention back to the present moment, again and again. When we learn to navigate the mind's restless currents, we discover a deeper truth that we are not defined by the river's flow, but by the vast, unchanging awareness that watches it. In this awareness there is peace. In this peace we find ourselves. Moods are like the weather, constantly shifting and evolving. One moment the sun shines brightly, illuminating our thoughts and actions with warmth and clarity. The next, clouds roll in, bringing doubt, irritation, or melancholy. Yet, just as we cannot control the weather, we often feel powerless in the face of our moods. They seem to arrive unbidden, coloring our perception of the world. But within this ever-changing landscape lies an opportunity, the alchemy of mood, the ability to transform our inner state into something meaningful and constructive. To understand mood, we must first accept its impermanence. No mood, whether uplifting or heavy, lasts forever. This fleeting nature is a gift. Joyful moods remind us to savor life's beauty while they last, while darker moods challenge us to find strength, patience, and resilience. When we cling to a positive mood, we risk disappointment when it inevitably fades. Similarly, when we resist a negative mood, we may amplify its hold on us, mistaking its passing shadow for a permanent state. The art of mood alchemy begins with awareness. Most of us react to our moods without question, allowing them to dictate our thoughts, words, and actions. If we feel anger, we lash out. If sadness envelops us, we withdraw. But what if we paused? What if, instead of reacting, we observed our mood as it arose, naming it without judgment? This is anger, this is joy, this is frustration. In that simple act of naming, we create a space between ourselves and the mood. We realize that the mood is not us, it is merely something passing through. Once we have named and acknowledged our mood, we can begin the process of transformation. This does not mean suppressing or denying what we feel. Suppression only pushes the mood deeper, where it festers and grows. Instead, transformation requires us to work with the mood, using it as raw material for growth. A difficult mood, like anger, can be a powerful teacher. It can reveal unmet needs, unspoken truths, or areas where we feel vulnerable. By sitting with the anger and exploring its roots, we can channel its energy into constructive action. Likewise, sadness can teach us about compassion both for ourselves and for others. It can soften the edges of our heart, reminding us of the shared struggles of being human. Even boredom, often dismissed as a trivial or annoying mood, holds potential. In boredom's stillness, creativity can arise, giving birth to ideas and solutions we might not otherwise encounter. Mood alchemy is not about forcing ourselves to feel a certain way. It is about meeting each mood with curiosity and care, allowing it to unfold and guide us toward a deeper understanding of ourselves. When we practice this, we become less reactive and more intentional. We learn to steer our lives not according to the whims of our moods, but through the steady compass of awareness. In this way, moods become not obstacles but opportunities. Each one, whether light or dark, contains within it the seeds of transformation. Through attention and presence, we can turn these seeds into wisdom, strength, and grace. Desire and discipline are two forces that shape the rhythm of our lives. Desire pulls us forward, igniting dreams and ambitions, while discipline holds us steady, guiding us toward fulfillment. Together they form a delicate dance, one that requires balance, awareness, and intention. If either dominates, we falter. Desire without discipline leads to chaos, while discipline without desire becomes rigidity. Desire is the spark of life, the energy that drives us to create, connect, and pursue. It is natural and necessary, an expression of our humanity. From the simplest craving for comfort to the loftiest aspiration for greatness, desire fuels our journey. Yet, unchecked, it can consume us. When we let desire lead without direction, it becomes insatiable, leaving us chasing endlessly after fleeting pleasures or unattainable goals. This is the danger of desire. Untethered, it promises fulfillment, but often delivers emptiness. Discipline, on the other hand, is the structure that gives desire meaning. It is the quiet strength that allows us to persevere, to stay true to our path, even when the initial excitement fades. Discipline is not about denying desire, but about refining it, focusing it like a beam of light so that it illuminates rather than blinds. However, when discipline becomes too rigid, it stifles the very essence of life. It can turn into a prison of self-imposed rules, stripping us of spontaneity and joy. The dance between these two forces begins with awareness. To understand our desires, we must look at them with honesty and curiosity. What do we truly want? Are our desires born of our deepest values and aspirations, or are they echoes of societal expectations, fleeting impulses, or unresolved fears? When we peel back the layers of desire, we often find that what we seek is not the object itself, a possession, an achievement, or a relationship, but the feeling we believe it will bring. Discipline enters the dance as a way to align our actions with our authentic desires. It asks us to make choices, to prioritize what truly matters over what merely distracts. Discipline does not mean suppressing our impulses, but channeling them in a way that serves our highest good. It is the practice of saying yes to what aligns with our purpose and no to what pulls us away from it. In the harmony of desire and discipline, we find a life that is both purposeful and passionate. Desire gives us the courage to dream, and discipline gives us the strength to bring those dreams to life. Together, they create a balance that allows us to move through the world with intention, joy, and grace. Life speaks to us constantly, not in words but through moments, feelings, and experiences. The art of listening to life is not about hearing sounds or voices, but tuning in to the subtler rhythms and messages that surround us. It is a practice of deep presence, of quieting the noise of our thoughts and paying attention to the wisdom embedded in the ordinary. Listening to life begins with slowing down. In a world that prizes speed and productivity, we often rush from one task to the next, barely noticing the richness of what unfolds around us. Yet life does not shout to get our attention, it whispers. A fleeting glance from a stranger, the rustle of leaves in the wind, or the stillness of a sunrise carries meaning if we are willing to pause and notice. Slowing down allows us to step out of the constant stream of doing and into the spaciousness of being, where life's messages become clear. To listen is to let go of judgment. Often we approach life with preconceived notions, interpreting events through the lens of our expectations, fears, or desires. But true listening requires openness. It asks us to set aside our assumptions and receive each moment as it is. Life is not always what we expect or want it to be, but when we listen without resistance, we discover its hidden gifts. Even challenges and hardships, when approached with curiosity, carry lessons that shape our growth. Listening also involves tuning in to our inner world. Our thoughts, emotions, and intuitions are part of life's conversation with us. Yet we often ignore or dismiss them, caught up in the external noise of obligations and distractions. By sitting in silence and turning inward, we begin to hear the truths that our hearts and bodies hold. A pang of discomfort might signal a boundary crossed, while a sense of ease may point to alignment with our values. Listening inwardly is not about overthinking, but about trusting the subtle signals that guide us. Nature, too, is a profound teacher in the art of listening. The cycles of the seasons, the behavior of animals, and the patterns of growth and decay all mirror truths about our existence. Watching a river flow reminds us of the impermanence of life, while observing a tree's resilience in a storm teaches us about strength and flexibility. By attuning ourselves to nature, we reconnect with the larger rhythm of existence, a rhythm that we are inherently a part of. The art of listening to life is transformative because it shifts our focus from control to connection. When we stop trying to impose our will on the world and instead attune ourselves to its flow, we find a deeper harmony. Life becomes less about solving problems and more about embracing its unfolding mystery. In listening, we discover that life is not separate from us. It is a dialogue, a dance, an ever-evolving story in which we are both the listeners and the participants. To listen is to honor this connection, to live with awareness, and to trust in the wisdom of life itself. Life is a constant interplay between chaos and control, two forces that seem opposing but are, in truth, deeply interconnected. Chaos represents unpredictability, the wild energy of life's unexpected twists and turns. Control, on the other hand, is our attempt to bring order to that chaos, to shape our environment and actions in alignment with our desires. The harmony between these forces lies not in eliminating one or favoring the other, but in learning to navigate the space where they coexist. Chaos is often seen as a threat, something to be resisted or subdued. It disrupts our plans, challenges our assumptions, and forces us into the unknown. Yet chaos is also a source of creativity and growth. It shakes us out of our routines and compels us to adapt, innovate, and evolve. Without chaos, life becomes stagnant, stripped of the vitality that makes it dynamic and meaningful. Control, in contrast, offers stability. It gives us a sense of agency, allowing us to set goals, establish routines, and build the structures necessary for a fulfilling life. But too much control can be stifling. When we cling too tightly to predictability, we close ourselves off from possibility, rejecting the very uncertainty that can lead to transformation. The attempt to control everything often leads to frustration and exhaustion because life by its nature resists being fully tamed. Harmony emerges when we recognize that chaos and control are not enemies but partners in the dance of existence. It is not about dominating one or surrendering to the other, but about finding balance. This balance begins with acceptance, understanding that chaos will always be a part of life and that control has its limits. Acceptance allows us to move with life rather than against it, responding to challenges with flexibility rather than rigidity. The key to harmony is adaptability. We can set intentions and take deliberate actions, but we must also remain open to change. When chaos arises, we can meet it with curiosity rather than fear, trusting in our ability to adapt and grow. When order feels too rigid, we can invite spontaneity, allowing life to surprise us. In embracing both chaos and control, we discover a deeper truth that life's beauty lies in its unpredictability and our ability to navigate it with grace. In this balance, we find not only harmony but also the freedom to live fully and authentically. In a world that often celebrates complexity, simplicity stands as an overlooked yet profound source of power. Simplicity is not about the absence of effort or ambition, it is about clarity, focus, and intentionality. It is the art of stripping away the unnecessary to uncover what truly matters, allowing us to channel our energy and attention into what is most meaningful. At its core, simplicity is a practice of discernment. Our lives are often cluttered not just with possessions, but with commitments, distractions, and noise. We are pulled in countless directions, each demanding our time and energy, leaving us overwhelmed and scattered. Simplicity invites us to pause, to ask what is essential. By identifying and prioritizing what aligns with our values and purpose, we reclaim our power to live intentionally rather than reactively. Simplicity is also liberating. Complexity can trap us, creating barriers that make even small decisions feel daunting. When we simplify, we reduce these barriers, making space for creativity, peace, and clarity. A simple life is not empty, it is spacious. It allows us to be present with what truly nourishes us, whether that is meaningful relationships, fulfilling work, or moments of stillness. There is strength in simplicity because it fosters resilience. When we rely on fewer things, whether material or emotional, we become less vulnerable to external disruptions. A life built on simplicity is grounded, adaptable, and self-sustaining. This does not mean rejecting the richness of life's experiences, but approaching them with mindfulness, choosing depth over breadth. Simplicity is also a profound source of focus. Complexity diffuses our energy, scattering it across too many pursuits. Simplicity concentrates it, enabling us to direct our efforts with precision and intention. This focused energy becomes a powerful force, allowing us to accomplish more with less effort and to engage fully with what we do. However, simplicity requires courage. It asks us to let go of what no longer serves us, whether it is material possessions, outdated beliefs, or draining commitments. This letting go is not a loss, but a gain of clarity, freedom, and alignment. In embracing simplicity, we tap into a quiet but profound power. It is the power of living authentically, unburdened by the distractions of excess. Simplicity allows us to move through life with grace, to focus on what truly matters, and to find strength in the beauty of less. Contentment is a treasure often sought but rarely understood. In a world driven by the pursuit of more success, more possessions, more recognition, contentment stands as a quiet yet profound alternative. It is not complacency or the absence of ambition, but a state of being rooted in the present, where we find satisfaction in what we have and who we are. Contentment is a currency more valuable than gold, for it enriches our lives not through accumulation but through appreciation. The paradox of contentment lies in its simplicity. We often believe that happiness is tied to external achievements or acquisitions, imagining that contentment will arrive when we reach a certain milestone or acquire a desired object. Yet, time and again, these external rewards prove fleeting. A new possession soon loses its luster, a promotion brings new stresses, and a long-awaited accomplishment often leaves us yearning for the next. Contentment, by contrast, does not depend on what we have, but on how we perceive what we have. It is an internal shift, a choice to recognize and embrace the richness already present in our lives. This does not mean that contentment rejects ambition or growth. On the contrary, it creates a foundation for healthier aspirations. When we are content, our goals are no longer driven by lack or insecurity, but by a genuine desire to explore, create, or contribute. Contentment allows us to strive without the desperation of needing external validation. It frees us from the endless chase and gives us the clarity to pursue what truly matters to us. The currency of contentment is gratitude. Gratitude transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, revealing the abundance that exists in even the simplest aspects of life. A cup of tea on a quiet morning, a smile shared with a loved one, the warmth of the sun on our skin, these moments, often overlooked, become sources of immense richness when approached with gratitude. By cultivating this practice, we train our minds to focus on what is good and enough, rather than on what is missing. Another key to contentment is acceptance. Life is unpredictable and often imperfect, filled with circumstances beyond our control. When we resist these realities, we create unnecessary suffering, clinging to how we think life should be instead of embracing how it is. Acceptance does not mean giving up or settling. It means finding peace in the present moment, even as we work to improve or change what we can. This balance of acceptance and effort is the hallmark of a contented mind. Contentment also deepens our relationships. When we are at peace with ourselves, we bring less neediness and expectation into our connections with others. We are able to give and receive love more freely, without the constant pressure for others to fulfill our unmet needs. Contentment fosters kindness, patience, and understanding, enriching the bonds we share with those around us. However, cultivating contentment requires mindfulness. It is easy to be swept away by the messages of consumerism, competition, and comparison that dominate our culture. These forces encourage us to believe that we are not enough, that happiness lies in the next purchase, achievement, or milestone. Mindfulness helps us step back from this cycle, reconnecting us with the present and reminding us that true contentment is already within our grasp. In embracing the currency of contentment, we discover a wealth that cannot be taken away. It is a wealth measured not in possessions but in peace, not in accolades but in joy. Contentment teaches us that life's greatest riches are found not in striving for more, but in appreciating what we already have. It is a quiet revolution, a return to the simple truth that enough is indeed enough,